Hello, sports lovelies. This is your girl, the self-proclaimed sportsnista, Yakiri Thomas, and I have a wonderful guest that will be chatting with me right now, and I have to properly introduce him. My next guest is a former NFL linebacker who played for multiple NFL sports teams, including San Francisco 49ers and the Atlanta Falcons. He is nationally recognized as a community leader and health advocate who serves as an NFL ambassador, national ambassador for the Parent Teacher Association, and a national spokesperson on health-related issues, including the care and treatment of asthma, from which he suffers. Sports lovelies, welcome Chris Draft to the Chicks in the Sports Quarantine Edition. Hi, Chris.
How are you doing?
I am so excited to talk to you. Oh my gosh, we have so much to talk about. I definitely want to just jump on right in until your thoughts right now on social justice, racial inequality, and of course, the current move of our nation, and of course, the movement worldwide.
So you basically said the easy question. You want to start with the easy question first.
Of course.
So yes, social justice, racial inequality. Yeah, absolutely not the easy question. Absolutely the elephant in the room that has been in the room for a long time. And I think the key is recognizing that we're in a special place right now, special place in American history. That it really, COVID, as terrible as it is, actually helped in this process. It helped by the fact that people were at home, that they didn't have as many things that they were doing. So they had less distractions, and they had to see very obviously because of the video of what happened. And so, hopefully, with the protests and really just these amazingly diverse protests, that we're going to continue to have traction and moving forward. And we've already seen it. We've seen a lot of things that have transpired over the last couple of weeks because of it. But the key is to recognize the real issue at the heart of these things. And that is, it's not just police brutality in terms of those specific issues that we've seen, these three issues. It's when we see that somebody is treated poorly. Do we see them as a human being? Do we see it and naturally say that's just unacceptable for that human being? And then as an American, do we say that if all men are created equal, well, then that person has to be treated a certain way? And so I think, hopefully as we go through this, that becomes more of the narrative that makes it where you don't have to explain as much, but to really just see somebody and say, if they're not treated properly, then that has to be dealt with. And so I think that's the systematic issues that we're dealing with in terms of that the goals and ideals of this country have been about possibilities. It's been about, pulling yourself up from your bootstraps and having the ability based on your work ethic and who you are to have opportunity. And, I think, too often that hasn't been the case in the Black community, and too often when we have made improvements, there's been a backlash to those improvements. And so, hopefully with what's going on right now, that there's going to be a revamp of history, of really understanding history and recognizing that we can't get past it, that we can't try to forget it. We can't try to ignore it. We have to hold it. We have to own it, so that we can make sure that we can reference things in history and know that it doesn't look so different. There's so many people right now that are like, oh my goodness, it looks so crazy different. It's like, no, it doesn't look so different. Whenever there's been change, there's been people that are willing to stand up and fight and make sure it changes. Even the idea of how horrific this, George Floyd killing is, and just, absolutely terrible. It reminds you of an Emmett Till that his mom said, no, we're going to have an open casket because we know if people see the brutality, if they can see it, that can make it where they'll respond. And so what my hope is, again, kind of bringing this back, this huge question, what my hope is what you would hope as we're talking about sports, is that you don't want to have to get whooped before you realize that you need to prepare and focus on getting better, right? So hopefully from America, we realize that there are naturally going to be issues. There's naturally going to be problems. There's naturally going to be issues of power and changes that happen. And as soon as we see them, don't allow the complaints to pile up before we actually address it. Don't see an antiquated law of, that where you can have a citizen's arrest and don't deal with that. Like, make it clearer so that there's not even any kind of ambiguity when those things happen. I mean, be honest about when you go to the wrong place and say, again, it can happen. It is terrible that it happened. It can, but how do we learn from it? How do we learn from it and get better so it doesn't happen again?
Oh my gosh, so true, Chris. I know a few weeks back, of course, during this movement, there was rioting, there was looting. The Children's Museum was hit. Yeah. And I clicked on my TV. Who's that? I know that guy right there, Chris Strapps. I knew I definitely had to talk to you because, again, extraordinary. You went out there, you was like, you know what? It's me. I'm here to clean up. Explain to everyone, why did you feel it was necessary to clean up the vandalism in downtown Atlanta?
Yeah, well, it's my community. I live in downtown Atlanta, so I'm not going to say that I had to go so far to be able to clean up. The day before, I actually cleaned up at the College Football Hall of Fame, which is really right across the park from where I live. Children's Museum is actually at the bottom of my building, so wasn't that difficult in terms of that commitment. So I want to make sure that's clear, because that's important to know. I didn't have to go that far, but why it matters, so you're saying, why does it matter that we clean it up? And is that it's so important that there's going to be elements. There's a lot of emotion. I think that's what I tried to convey in terms of the interview with 11 Alive, was that there's emotion. So the idea that there can be some people that have an emotion that transfers into something negative, it's terrible. It's not something that you will want, but it is understandable that that could happen, right? And that means we need to make sure that we don't accept it and don't try to rationalize it in a way that says that it's right. We can say that it can happen, but not that it's right. And so it's important that we came right out, and there was an amazing group, again, of diverse people. There are people from my building, from the Children's Museum, that got right out there as soon as we could and started sweeping that up, to put the boards up and say, you know what, they might have broken out the buildings, those few people that did, but we don't have to accept what it looks like. We don't have to stay in that place, and we don't have to accept the pain that they have as a place where we stay. So we're going to clean it up. They're going to put new windows in, and then we're going to use it as an opportunity to talk about, what's going on. Use it as an opportunity to potentially weave things into the curriculum at the Children's Museum that talks about being more inclusive, that looks at racism, that tries not to just be cute, but recognizes with the diversity that's around, that we have an opportunity to be able to move forward.
Oh my gosh, that's extraordinary. Again, you didn't have to do it, but you did it, which makes it even more spectacular. Let's just switch lanes for a second. Let's talk a little bit about the NFL. The NFL has a lot of things going on. They donated $20 million to help combat systematic racism in the U.S. Now, you are part of being that brotherhood. Talk a little bit about the NFL's decision to now, seems like it's supporting the cause, the movement.
Well, I think that the hard part when people see the NFL is they want there to be more of a statement from the NFL level, where the NFL they don't really make statements from the NFL level. They support their players in certain causes. The NFL is a football business, right? So even if you see a kind of a stance on cancer, you see something on this, it's still not really a statement from the NFL. And I think, unfortunately, for a lot of our players, that they haven't really understood where the NFL starts and where it stops, so that you recognize how to use your relationship, how to use the fact that you're playing in NFL to be able to push things forward. And I say that because by recognizing things that the NFL is already doing. And so if you look at our community relations departments, and if we want to talk about inequality, there's so much of the work that we do where, players are going to schools. And if you look at a school, the justice system, or you could say the prison system, uses a third grade reading level to forecast jail cells. So every time players go to schools and they're encouraging academic achievement or inspiring academic achievement, that's a win. That's a huge win, right? And every time they're there, it's an opportunity to be able to learn more about the community, and hopefully through the relationship with the teams that we can support those districts in getting more resources. The other part is Play 60. It seems nice and cute, but we see right now with COVID, why is the Black community getting hit that much harder? Well, because our health disparities too often are going along with obesity and just a lack of care, of personal care in terms of our health. And so Play 60 is not a real cute thing of kids running around and just movement. No, the kids running around are about establishing a healthy lifestyle early on, which will translate to them as adults, which will then make sure they're healthier, right? So I think we talk about character and the idea of that. So many things that the NFL has been a part of already are preventative type of things that really go directly towards building the foundation for the movement of social justice. When you see, education that helps you understand the justice system, understands where to plug in. If you're not educated enough, you can't understand all the intricacies of those. So I say they build off of each other, and I think it's critical. As I've talked to a lot of our players and a lot of our community outreach people right now, is that we have a tremendous opportunity with our players to educate them about what the NFL's already doing, right? And really find, and then let them find their place, just like with so many other people right now. There's people out there like, oh, I got to go protest. Oh, I got to do this. It's like, slow down. It's like, you can do, like, it's not going to just be marching in the street. We can't just it's not just going to be about that. So wherever you are, your skills have an opportunity to move things forward and foster a country that's more equal and more just.
Oh my gosh, I get it. I definitely get it. Now let's switch gears just a few minutes. Again, let's talk about 2016, memory lane. Was that 44 President Barack Obama? You met him when you went to lobby for funding for research. Oh my gosh, can you please talk about that magnificent experience?
Yeah, so I had a chance to meet President Obama, but more I was in 2016 was part of the Moonshot effort. So I actually worked with the Moonshot team as we were challenging the government to make veterans health as it relates to lung cancer more of a priority. And so working with the White House and the VA, had chances to talk with Vice President Biden quite often, and then they invited me, the Vice President, the President invited me to be on stage with them when they signed the bill, the Moonshot legislation. And so they said, so the week before, I was up at the White House, and they said, "You think you could come back next week?" And I said, "I think I could." They said, "Well, the Vice President and President want you to be on stage with them, when they signed the legislation." I said, "Well, let me look at my calendar. I think I can be back."
Right.
What an opportunity. I was, just again, this historic legislation, the Moonshot, the commitment to have, 10 years worth of progress in 5 years by taking a hard look at the things that we could affect right away, things that we've already proven and putting those into practice, and then fostering more collaboration to make sure that we could be more efficient in moving forward. So it was a tremendous day, but if I can tell you, it was even bigger than just being up on stage, because as I was in line going through security at the White House is when I got the announcement that the NFL was going to an all cancer platform.
Oh, wow.
On that day, an all cancer platform, went inside, and we're on stage with the president and the vice president, just amazing. And then after that meeting, Vice President Biden got a chance to sit in a meeting with him and Jon Stewart with DOD, VA, NYPD, FDNY, and some other folks, and literally hear Vice President Biden say, "I don't have a whole bunch of time. We don't have a whole bunch of time left, but we want to make sure however we can help you guys move forward and really take care of your people. Let us know, so that all the way up until the last day that we're going to fight to make sure that we can use our platform, use our resources in a way that help you guys out."
Oh my gosh, so inspiring, Chris. Amazing, just simply amazing. Mm-hmm. Now, let's talk about your remarkable story. A couple of years back, I saw your story and I was very inspired. I was like, you know what? One day I got to interview that guy. So full circle, here you are. We did interview you last year, I believe, but this year back again. You have a remarkable story. You have the Chris Draft Family Foundation, empowering families to lead a healthy life, and you have the Team Draft, which is an initiative of the Chris Draft Family Foundation. So, can you talk a little bit about Team Draft and how it was created?
So, yeah, great question. So the Chris Draft Family Foundation was founded in 2006, again, with our focus on empowering families to live healthy lifestyles. And that's really a preventative type of message. It says we are going to be very intentional on building people up. So now whatever happens, they have this solid base to be able to deal with it. And it's great. It's necessary. It's needed. I mean, again, just as I talked about before, it's the importance of health and health education and really being directed towards it, and education and character building and all that. But unfortunately, with all those things, bad things can still happen. And so our Team Draft initiative was founded on November 27, 2011, when me and my wife, Keisha, we got married on that day. And so what is the Team Draft initiative? It is an initiative that's committed to changing the face of lung cancer. So my wife, Keisha, was diagnosed December of 2010. She was 37 years old, in amazing shape, and out of nowhere gets diagnosed with lung cancer. And not just lung cancer, but stage 4 lung cancer. And so, again, it was something where everything that she did before it's put her in a position to be able to put up the best fight. But at some point, you need specific drugs, specific diagnostics for that particular issue. And that's why we founded the Team Draft. We founded Team Draft on our wedding, and it's it's powerful in terms of the reason that it happened, because my wife came to me before our wedding, and she said, what if we don't get presents? What if we just ask our family and friends to support the foundation so we could fight? And it's so critical. It's hard at times because I'm trying to make sure our survivors really recognize it, make sure our community, lung cancer community, understands that, is that my wife was not ready from the beginning. She was ready to fight, and she had to make that decision to fight, but she was not ready to fight for other people. So it recognizes that there is this transformation to a point where you're ready to fight for others. And when she was, that's when Team Draft was started. So it was started with a commitment between us and started with a commitment to the lung cancer community. And so unfortunately she passed a month later. And so I had a choice that I had to make, that I tell people is very important, because you have to be honest with yourself. And that was, could I appreciate that anything that we did moving forward, that nothing was going to bring her back, right? Nothing was going to. Number 2 was, could I accept that progress, the progress is going to happen, and could I actually be happy for the people that benefited from that progress? I couldn't be a hater. I couldn't happen for my wife. And then the other part, am I willing to fight for it, right? So I could be happy for them, but am I really willing to fight for it and recognize that it's so important? And that's what we believe in with Team Draft, is that whatever is out there, all right, that's been approved, we want to make sure that the people that can benefit from it get to it, so that if whatever ones we can extend their lives and improve their lives, we want to get all of them, knowing that it's not going to be everyone, but the ones we can save, we got to go get them.
Oh my gosh. It's like you took that tragedy and moved it to victory. And, although she passed away, you're still moving forward in her legacy. So could you just tell the listening audience, again, remaining selfless? How are you still able to remain selfless even to this day, just honoring your wife and continue to fight to raise awareness for lung cancer?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I mean, I think it's a lot of it is that it's possible. It's possible to change lives. So I can't bring my wife back, but the blessing of playing in NFL means I have a platform like crazy. Now I have the choice to be able to use it and know that we can absolutely change people's lives. And so I think that's really what it comes down to. Somebody asked me, at the core, is lung cancer your purpose? Like, no, at the core of my purpose is people. I love people. I'm against inequality. I'm against injustice. So wherever that takes me, that might take me downstairs and cleaning up a children's museum. It might be over at a College Football Hall of Fame, but that's really the core of it. Have the ability to do something about it, and I'm going to.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Well, thank you so much for chatting with me, Chris. But I do have a 5-for-5 question game for you. Get ready.
Yes. I'm ready. I'm ready.
Okay. Number one person that inspires you.
Living.
Okay. Yes, living would be fine.
If it's living, can I say two? Can I say my dad and my mom?
Absolutely. Yeah. Love that. Yeah. Number two, childhood superhero that you wanted to be.
That is a very good. I know I'm supposed to be really fast, so let me just say, I'll say Batman.
Batman.
but at the same, actually, you know what? Thundercats used to be the
oh yeah.
So I'm gonna say Lion-O.
Oh my gosh. So most of those millennials don't know nothing about Thundercats, but I know who you're talking about. Yeah. Number three, one word to best describe you.
Determined.
Okay. Number four, one word that does not describe
you. Non-strategic.
Okay. And final question, the easiest question of them all. When it's all said and done, what will your legacy be?
That's a good question. Good question. I think when I was in St. Louis, when I played with the Rams, I had a great relationship with the media folks there, and they kind of gathered that if there was a problem in the community, wherever it was, they would bring it to me. And they said, well, because Chris gets things done. And so I guess that's what I would want people to say is that that if there was a problem, that they could come to me, and that we could lay out a plan and we were going to get it done.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Draft, Chris Draft.
Thank you.
With us. Thank you so much. Definitely we'll be following you and following up to everything you're doing. And please come back again. Stay safe.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Bye-bye.